President Milosevic of Yugoslavia has told his people to defend their country by all means. Boris Yeltsin of Russia has warned the planned NATO attacks could cause war in Europe, if not more than that. However, air and naval forces of the NATO alliance have been making their final preparations. Military action against Serbia could begin almost any time now. Leaders of the European Union, meeting at a summit in Berlin, expressed their full support for the use of force by NATO, saying the international community had done its utmost to find a peaceful solution in Kosovo. NATO forces are moving into position, ready for the first wave of strikes. Cruise missiles are expected to target Yugoslavia's sophisticated air defense and radar systems and Serbia's military headquarters in Kosovo itself. If necessary, a second wave of attack will come from more than 300 NATO aircraft, including American B-52 bombers and Britain's 8 Italian-based Harrier jets. Their job, seen as the most dangerous, is to strike at Serbian ground forces in Kosovo. If they're successful, they may, in a few days' time, move on to targets deep within Serbia, where they will face a powerful enemy, including 200 fighter aircraft. On the ground, the Yugoslav army numbers some 90,000 troops. In a moment, we'll be going to Belgrade and hear the latest from NATO headquarters in Brussels. First, though, Fergus Nichol reports on a flurry of last-minute statements before the impending airstrikes.
The politicians have spoken, the generals have begun their final deployments. American B-52 bombers capable of firing cruise missiles leave for the Mediterranean after a 24-hour stopover at RAF Fairford in England. With every hour that passes, military action against the Yugoslav authorities looks increasingly inevitable.
We're going to continue in order to bring peace, not to make war against anybody. To make peace to a country that has suffered too much in the last years. And it's time that we stop the suffering of the people and that we stop the humanitarian catastrophe there.
But the Yugoslav president is in defiant mood, using a national television broadcast to defend his decision to reject the international peace plan for Kosovo.
Dear citizens, I think the National Assembly made the right decision when it decided not to accept foreign troops on our soil. This decision was unanimous, reflecting the unity of all our citizens and their unified stance in favour of independence, freedom and free development of our country. This is not a question of Kosovo alone. Although Kosovo is of paramount importance to us, the question here is the freedom of the entire country. If we'd accepted those troops, we would have allowed them to open a small door by which they could enter our country and steal away our freedom.
There is one full awareness of the seriousness of the situation, but also one very strong determination to defend our country, not to let our holy land, Kosovo and Metohija, to be robbed from Serbia and Yugoslavia. Foreign predators should know and realize that they cannot achieve their goal without paying very high toll.
That kind of talk is precisely what President Yeltsin has tried to counteract. Speaking to the Russian nation, he said, "I appeal to the whole world while there are still a few minutes left. Let us convince Clinton not to take this tragic, dramatic step." Describing Mr. Milosevic as a difficult negotiator, President Yeltsin said it was worth talking to him 10 or even 20 times for the sake of the hundreds and hundreds of people who would die in a few hours. On the streets of Belgrade, Wednesday passed very much as a normal day. Even as the Yugoslav government issued warnings of imminent war, international negotiators were left to reflect ruefully on the failure of their mission.
Pare pokreću svijet, politiku i nogomet. Parama ja kupujem sve, jahte, konje, zankove, al upamti, frajer, da ti pare ne mogu kupit raju. iskrenu. Para vrti tamo gdje burgija.
Žanrovski sve misli i ovaj duh koji je radio možemo podeliti i na komediju i na tragediju i na dramu. Hronološki pak i vremenski gledano, misli i duh se proteže od kosovskog ciklusa. Ali ljubav se ne predaje, nikako ne priznaje. Preko romantizma, realizma, pa sve do moderne.
Well, I have not been able to assess what the target list might be, but certainly one would not expect there to be any direct hits on the city itself, although, of course, there are some important military installations in Pristina and around Pristina. The army has spent much of the day, I was told by an official at HQ here in Pristina, moving around its armor and its heavy weaponry to make it less visible to NATO airstrikes, and we saw a lot of movement going on through the day. Also in Pristina, during the hours of darkness and just before dusk fell, there was a fair amount, not I would say an excessive amount, but a fair amount of movements of Serb paramilitary units, police units, and Yugoslav military units. So that was happening as the day unfolded. I'm hearing automatic gunfire in the distance. Let me just pause so I can hear and stick my head out further from my vantage point to see if I can see anything. Now I'm seeing an ambulance disappearing with a blue light flashing in the distance from the direction of where I heard some gunfire.
Sjedinjene Američke Države i Severnoatlantski savez započeli vazdušne udare na vojne ciljeve u Jugoslaviji.
Američki predsjednik Bill Clinton saopštio vojne ciljeve akcije, među kojima je, kako istakao, sprečavanje jugoslovenskog predsjednika Slobodana Miloševića da poveća napade na kosovske Albance. Dobroveče, ja sam Nenad Zafirović, ovo je Otvoreni studio Glasa Amerike.
Dobroveče, ja sam Nikica Pečnik. Odmah posle početka operacije Severnoatlantskog saveza predsjednik Bill Clinton se pojavio na američkoj televiziji.
Čuj, muko nevina, sveta i pravedna, straha nemaš, pesme pevaš, slobodna kao vihor se otela, rođena kao ptica iz pepela, moja si još od Isona, zauvek. Čuješ li jedina pesmu Polina, rano moja daljena. Čuješ li Polina, planina, planina, zemljo moja jedina. Ala što ti otimala blaga, još te pita kako si mi draga. Reći ću joj ovoga mi glasa, još si lepša svima iz dineta, zemljo moja jabuka od zlata. Čestice što si nestane tešila, grešnice što si grehe oprostila, moja si jer si suđena za